Hi, guys. Welcome to the Daily Gripe. What you're about to see is a segment from our sister channel, the TOWTalk Podcast, but I wanted to bring this segment here because it ties directly into our ongoing discussion on the Daily Gripe regarding flock cameras, surveillance, privacy, and who really controls this technology once it's installed. This story comes out of the city of Newburgh, right here in Orange County, New York, where officials discussed removing the city's flock cameras after concerns were raised about the system. But there's a catch. If they remove the cameras, the taxpayers could still be on the hook for roughly $400,000 under the contract. So the bigger question becomes, once a community buys into this surveillance technology, how easy is it to get back out? Neil and I got into this discussion on TOWTalk, and I thought it was worth sharing here because this isn't hypothetical anymore. It's happening right now in our communities, and it could be right in your backyard. But before we jump in, please be sure to like, share, and subscribe. We want to build out this new platform, and we can't do it without your help. So your engagement really means something to us. Without any further delay, let's get into the video. The Newburgh City Council has been wrestling with whether to terminate its contract with Flock Safety's automated license plate reader cameras. Residents fear information could be used for immigration enforcement. Police argue the cameras are valuable crime-fighting tool. Council members appear broadly concerned about the system, but an immediate termination could reportedly leave Newburgh facing more than $400,000 in contract-related costs. A proposal to immediately end the program failed this week. So this is precisely the surveillance issue we've discussed before, except now it's happening right here in Orange County. So we've got three separate questions. Do license plate readers help solve crimes? I guess yes. Can giant interconnected databases be abused? Yeah. Can a municipality impose meaningful restrictions on how that data is accessed and shared? So residents aren't crazy for asking who can see their movements. Police aren't crazy for wanting technology that helps locate stolen vehicles, missing people, or violent suspects. The policy failure is when government adopts the technology first and starts discussing privacy rules afterward. And then there's that $400,000 issue. So, Neil, give me your thoughts on this. What do you think?
It was a very interesting meeting. So I did watch the meeting. The council, and the mayor, a lot of the public came out and spoke. There were probably each person was allowed 3 minutes, and comments around the flock cameras lasted about 2 hours. And it was about a 3.5-hour meeting. It was long. It was a long meeting. And, it was a long meeting. And I'm going to say that comment, I would recommend people go see it. There were a lot of good comments from the public. The public obviously wanted the contract terminated immediately, with the idea of, at some future date discussing what types of policing, this gets to the broader question of what does local policing mean? What are the resources local police officers need to do their job? So, and it's a really, and I understand that there's a lot of, a lot of passion on both sides, but here's what I'm going to say. The technology didn't exist more than 10 years ago. We were policing in this country for 200 years without it.
Absolutely.
Right? Why do all of a sudden police officers need it?
Exactly.
To me, it's laziness. It's the idea of we don't want to do old-fashioned police work. What we want to do is we want to get a camera and we want to see. And not for nothing. Can images be doctored? We don't even know. We don't even know that, right?
Come on. Yes, we do. We watch it happen all the time. AI is so unbelievably convincing. at this
Right.
point.
And one of the owners of Flock is a company that does digital alterations. Like, and
Imagine that.
and then you have, like, who has access to the information? We know law enforcement has access, local law enforcement, but federal authorities have access as well. Now we know that agencies from all across the United States have access to your flock cameras. So your flock cameras are no longer your local police department. It's a nationwide database. So now anybody can access it nationwide. We've seen that happen. We've seen officers get suspended nationwide. In almost
For stalking
in
people.
at least a dozen different states for stalking people. So, I'm not, like, there clearly aren't rules. And then the question is, all right, well, who else has access? We know, because it came up, that Flock was spying on a preschool classroom because the company wanted a security system in place. They contracted with Flock, and that they were using that preschool as an example during
Like
sales calls. They were
During
allowing
sales
people that, they were in order to pitch it to other people. They were saying, hey, listen, this is what you can do with the camera. And they were watching the preschool.
God.
Yeah.
Imagine that's your child on that camera being displayed to complete strangers in another part of the country.
Right. And now we've seen that like we saw recently, it came up, there was a Flock camera pointed at a pool.
Yes. I heard about that.
Why would a Flock camera be pointed at a pool if it's just a license plate reader? And then we found out that Flock cameras, pull images as well as license plates, not just license plates that they use. And then they create driver, like we've talked about that numerous times on this podcast, and they create people profiles. And who has access to those? Do the billionaires, do the investors, do the billionaire investors have access to Flock information? Do they have the ability to watch a camera or look up people's license plates and find out their profile or get images of them, in different spots? Like, it becomes a what controls are in place? Who has access? Where? There are so many questions that have not been answered. And, there was a huge rush to put them out. Boards,
yeah, without a doubt.
Right. Like, think about how this got put out, right? Basically, the DOJ came to each municipality and said, we're going to give you X amount of money to put up these cameras, and you have 30 days to do it. Otherwise, you don't get the money. What time frame do you have to develop policies and procedures when they are going to give you security stuff, in a 30-day time period, and they're going to pay for it for you? And so you're on a board and you're like, all of a sudden you're like, because like now it's like a deer in headlights, because now your police chief is coming to you and saying, we need to do this now. Otherwise we're not getting the money. And you're looking at it as, we're getting money because you're a local municipality. You get no money from the federal government. You want as much money as you can get, and you think you're providing added security to your town or your village or wherever, or your city. And it turns out you're not. Turns out that it's not that way. And here's what I'm also going to say. Okay, before I get back to Newburgh, because I have one more comment on this. All of this is a result of having an authoritarian in the White House. Okay?
100%.
Because a few years ago, when Flock was putting up all these cameras, nobody gave a shit. Like, people are only caring now because the government is targeting individual people. They're targeting protesters. They're targeting dissent. They're targeting people, individuals, for their constitutional rights, and they're taking away your constitutional rights as you go. Okay. So it really comes down to now people are saying, well, I don't want to be targeted. And this puts a target on me, whether I like it or not. This is putting a target on me, and the government can frame me for anything because they have cameras everywhere.
Yeah. Yeah. Let me ask you this. I don't know if you know the answer to this, and maybe we'll dig into this further. You said they were putting these up years ago. About how long did they start doing this, and was there any pushback back then by anyone? Did anybody see this and say?
Flock has been around for like 9 years.
Really, and we're really, a lot of us are only hearing about Flock recently. Now that it's
why? Why is
because it's now being tied in so much to police and surveillance and AI and all of this massive surveillance state. They're all being tied together to monitor us.
And you have a federal government that is violating people's first, third, fourth, fifth, right, 8th, 7th, 9th, 12th, 13th, 14th. I mean, all these amendments, right? They're violating all these amendments, okay, to our Constitution. So what's happening is that now people are pushing back against the authoritarianism that they're viewing in their local community. Okay. Right. At some point in time, like, I mean, they're putting up warehouses in local communities. Deep down, people understand that this is only the start. I mean, they've designated, different types of people with different types of beliefs, okay, as terrorists. Think about Antifa. Like, I mean, all we need to do is look at Antifa. Antifa means that you're anti-fascist. Okay?
That's it.
That's all Antifa means, right? 80% of the country is anti-fascist.
At least they better be.
So all these people could be targeted by your government for being anti-fascist. Okay? Now, am I saying that they are going to target everybody? No, most people will be compliant. I mean, that's what people are.
Yeah, that's a word we're hearing a lot lately, compliant.
Right. Most people just want to go to work, earn a living, go home, cook dinner, right, and go to bed. And maybe take a vacation every once in a while. That's what most people want. Okay. And now, right, and most people aren't involved in politics like we are. They don't live it. They don't breathe it. They don't care about it.
Yeah.
But now it's in their face. Now they go to the airport and they confiscate your phone, right? They confiscate your phone and they look to see if you sent a meme or had a meme sent to you that was anti-Trump. All right. I mean, like, this is the stupid shit. They've deported people who are here legally, okay, just for making comments. Just for exercising their First Amendment rights, okay?
To free speech.
So people are seeing this, and we've all, like, seen this play out. Like, this story is a story throughout history, okay? That eventually the federal government will come for you. If you allow them, they will. It's just a matter of time, So people are and now they have the means to get you. I mean, they know exactly where you are at any given point in the time in the day. Hell, the ICE showed up at a polling place where a woman was working. Just because she made a post that was anti-ICE, and they wanted her to sign a paper that said that she threatened ICE. I mean,
signing shit.
But that's the thing. This is how it starts. Okay,
right?
And I'm going to say people are now becoming more and more aware of it. This isn't an idea of, if you're not doing anything, you have nothing to worry about, right? AI has proven that they can manipulate and change whatever they. Not only that, we now know that the Justice Department has gone out and they've basically doctored grand juries, right? I mean, they've given false information to grand juries. They've manipulated grand juries. They've even kicked people off of grand juries to get the people that they wanted on the grand jury so that they can get the indictment. Okay?
And meeting with them outside of the courtroom. I mean, these are things you don't do.
These are all disreputable things and unethical things, and it flies in the face of our justice system. So
the rule of law, it's been shit on.
Right. When you have no rule of law, people all of a sudden start getting scared about the authoritarianism that's being presented in front of them. And here's the thing. You may not have anything to worry about with your local police, right? But what did we see? We saw that somebody in Texas, right? An officer in Texas had somebody arrested in Illinois who didn't commit a crime.
Incredible.
Right? So there are absolutely real concerns. So getting back to what happened in Newburgh, it was very interesting because, again, 2 hours, people talking, people saying, we want the flock cameras out. We want the flock cameras out. Every single board member spoke. Every single board member said that they were against the flock cameras. Okay? Right?
So they're with the people. They're with the people then.
But then a vote occurred, right? Then I think it's Alderman Omari Shakur had put forth a motion to vote to end the contract, right? And it was seconded by Alderman Giselle Martinez, right? So now it came to a floor vote, okay? And the floor vote failed. So they all were for killing the contract and not having flock cameras in the community, but then the vote failed.
Is that because of the $400,000?
That was the claim. That was the claim.
You're not buying it.
I don't know. I haven't reviewed the contract, so I don't know. I don't know the answer to it. But here's what I'm going to say. All right, $400,000 for a city, local municipality is a lot of money. Okay, but at the end of the day, right, like their argument made no sense. Okay, the argument was, well, if we don't fund the line, right, then we can cancel the contract. Okay. And it really made no sense because at that point in time, all the board has to do is change the budget. Vote to change the budget, right? Defund the line. Defund the line. No longer fund that contract. And then you could say, well, it's now an unfunded contract and therefore we're not going to pay on it. Right. So like the argument about like, we just don't have to fund the contract in the budget and therefore the budget, then the contract goes away. That makes no sense to me because usually that type of language is not in a contract. Either you have a contract or you don't have a contract, right? If you have a contract, then you have to fund the line, right? There's usually some type of termination clause within a contract. And that's what I would like to see is what does the termination clause say, right? So sometimes it'll say like there's a 90-day window. You can terminate within 90 days or you can terminate within 60 days. Usually there's a termination window that you have to give notice, right? So that's what I would like to see. I would like to see the termination clause within the contract and see if there actually is one and whether there is a penalty associated with that. There might be, the only thing I might say that they have to pay back, right, is if they put up the flock cameras via a grant, which may be the case. Okay. if they terminate the contract, then they may have to give back the grant funds.
And so that could cost taxpayers.
That would cost the taxpayers money, yes. Again, but I don't know, because I haven't seen the contract. I don't know what the contract is. I haven't talked to anybody related to what's going on there, but that's the only thing I can think of, related to it. And there's probably a contract related to the warehousing of the information, the data storage that's needed for the information. There could be some contract related to that. Again, there's a lot here, but what I find is really interesting is that they've been having this discussion for over a month now. Okay. And, there was some talk about arguing over, wording of the resolution, like really ridiculous things, that people it just seemed like technicalities that were kind of BS in nature,
Okay.
It seemed to be like, yeah, we want to end the flock thing, but we don't want to end the flock thing. That was the gist that I was getting from the board is that we're all really against the First Amendment violations that it's doing, but it's also the city of Newburgh and we want to have flock camera. That was, honestly enough, that was the impression I got. All right. Like, I watched the meeting and that was honestly the impression I came away with.
Unbelievable. Folks, this is a serious thing. And we've talked about this, by the way, on our sister channel. If you're not subscribed, check out the Daily Gripe. We did a video that touched on this and the surveillance state. And we're going to keep talking about this because, you know what? We didn't need this stuff. Just like we said before, we didn't need this stuff years ago. Now, all of a sudden, we need it because it's going to make us safer. Being over-policed is going to make us safer. How about making things more affordable and having a living wage and better jobs out there and low-cost food and energy available to us, so people don't have to, get desperate and become criminals. Mamdani has just proven that if you make things more affordable, you have less crime.
You just pulled exactly what I was going to say out. It's
beat you to it.
you look at Mamdani and he's been in office for a little less than 8 months, and what you could see is that he is being responsive to the needs of his community, and in response to that, crime has fallen. Okay, and you can say what you want. Police respond to crime. Okay, they don't really prevent crime. The cameras that are in place, right, don't prevent crime. They only respond to crime. Okay, but this idea is what we're hearing from, right, our politicians in Washington, which has now become really scary for us, is that they want to do pre-crime, right? Like, we're getting into this Minority Report BS, okay, where they want to catch you before you commit the crime, okay? And that's not the way our justice system works.
Yeah, that's just a huge issue that can be really exploited in so many ways.
But it is being exploited now.
And it is.
Now it's being exploited, right? Because we're now seeing that with the flock cameras, with this idea that police are using flock cameras to stalk people. Okay? Just like the guy in Wisconsin who was going to Michigan to buy marijuana in Michigan, right? Because it's legal to purchase marijuana in Michigan, right? And that's where the dispensary was, right? And flock cameras tracked him going back and forth, and then they arrested the guy. Right? He wasn't buying, he wasn't trafficking, he wasn't selling. It was for his own use.
Oh,
but they didn't give a shit.
Use.
Yeah, no. They didn't give a shit.
No, they're just looking to just find reasons to get arrested. So this goes back to lazy police work, right? You sit there and watch TV till you see something that's even quasi illegal. We'll go after that. Never mind waiting, being out there on the beat, ready to respond to a call from somebody who's in real need. No, you're sitting behind a desk watching TV.
Listen, I was all for, when I was on the town board, I was all for community policing, right? That's really what it comes down to. Having boots on the ground, right? Talking to people, right? Like really getting the police to interact with your community in a very real way. I give Chief Hertman credit, in the fact that he's I think he's done a pretty good job in making sure that he is, in the community,
Yes.
and doing stuff. But at the same token, right, like we have to be responsive to our residents, and we shouldn't be spying on them. We just shouldn't. And
Absolutely not.
And in this case, I think I agree with Alderman Shakur and Alderman Martinez, when they voted to get rid of the flock cameras. I think there isn't enough controls. We don't know enough about them, right? And this idea of doing things first and then putting the controls in later, it doesn't work. Because what you find is once you've given something, and it's like you give a baby a new toy, they want to play with the toy, right? But then you start putting rules on the toy after they played with it a day or two, right? Because now you're seeing how they're playing with it. So now you try to put constraints on, and they don't want the constraints.
Yes. Yeah.
Absolutely. And the police, unfortunately, are the same way. They want to be able to do these things, but at the same token, there are people out there abusing those things. So that means that they shouldn't get those things. If it's going to be abused, then you can't have it until we know how to put it in place and operate it effectively, maintaining people's rights. Okay.
And you know what? That falls back to what we say all the friggin' time on this channel, on Daily Gripe, everywhere else. Voting matters. And, this is where you need to really get to know those candidates and who's for. Okay, if we're going to have flock cameras, there needs to be a certain level of regulation to ensure that they are not abused in the way they're being abused right now. And that abuse is, if it's not put in check now, it's going to get worse. I can promise you that. It doesn't take a genius to figure that out. And so voting matters. Get to know your candidates, get to know where they stand on this. And if you're, we're seeing, if you've already had your primaries and your candidate is someone who's sort of wishy-washy on flock cameras, it's up to you as constituents to push them in the direction you want them to go.
And, these are questions that, these are all hot topic questions, right? Flock cameras, warehousing, battery bank power facilities,
yes.
Right. Data centers. These are all hot topics, right? That, are really hot topics in our local community. And, we need our local politicians, right? Those running for local office to answer those questions, right? Again, I go back to, what is smart development? Does smart development mean putting data centers in our empty warehouses to get, for the town to get revenue out of those things? Is that a plan of Jill Wilkins who's running for supervisor, right? What does it actually mean? So we need to, there are just too many questions. We really need a debate. I think Newburgh, I would like to see them, make a responsible, choice in this matter, but I at the same token, right? As much as I want to say get rid of all the flock cameras, right? I'm also of the mindset that if there are areas of your community that are subject to high criminal activity, right? Maybe we do need a camera there.
Provided that it is limited within the scope of monitoring that specific area. That's,
Correct.
again, falls back to regulation. And we're living in the deregulated state now, right? We're all being policed now, and the government is free to tread upon all of us. And it used to be the other way around. That was the whole point of some bureaucracy and regulation, was to make sure that the government couldn't get it up your ass the way it is right now.
Well, that's the interesting part, right? Like the Republicans ran on this platform of "Don't tread on me," deregulation, right? But the regulation is what prevented the government from treading on you.
Yes.
So now that they've deregulated everything, now the government's treading on you, and you get the and now our food supply is sucked. So not only are they treading on you, but now you're shitting all the time as a result of it. So welcome to America. Good luck.
Oh, all right.
Where
All
we
right.
tread on you and you get the shit all the time.
Yes. All right. With that note, folks, if particularly if you're from, oh God, yeah, that's a shitty note to leave on. But we're gonna wind up here, folks. If you haven't already subscribed to the Daily Gripe, please join us there. That's actually where we take on more national topics such as this and break those down a little further. We tend to be a little snarkier over there, so the engagement can be fun. We are, just a little. Just a little. So, but also, if you're from Newburgh and you catch this, would love to hear your opinion and what you think of this whole flock camera thing. Definitely comment below. Always 7 words or more, because we got to feed the algorithm that fucking hates political content. And like, share, and subscribe. Right? Engage with us. We want to hear from you. All right, guys. So, in the meantime, take care. We love you. Be safe. And we'll see you next time.
Peace out.